Okay, so this is writing stuff. These top two don't do anything. These are all the values that I needed. Okay, so it starts here at main, does map. What map does is it sets these to random things. So these are, well, area 2 is, well, 1A is the Deathloop bit. This is the tavern. Then 2 is the path. So yeah, path here. So there's a choice of here. It's 0 or 1. So it's basically a Boolean choice. So if it's 0, back down here. If it's 0, then it goes on to 3. So there isn't a path here. However, if it's 1, then there is a path, and there will always be a path. And then you go forwards to 3 and backwards to 1. Yeah. So then in 3, if it's 0, then it's the 2 junction. If it's a 1, then it's the 3 junction. And then these are the choices. It's basically this is the way to do the sound. So the not that way. You can't go that way thing. Right there. And then it waits for a bit and then goes to 3. So it loops back up to the top of here. So you get to run through all of this again. So A takes you to the right at the 2 junction. D takes you to the left. S, this is the extra bit. So if areas 2 is 0, so if there isn't a path, then it takes you straight back to the tavern. If there is a path, it takes you to 2. So this will always work. And then the 3 junction is basically the same thing, except there's no, you can't go that way. And that's repeated for the rest of them. Well, there are paths in some of the places. Oops. Okay. There are paths in some of the places. This is another path bit. Ugh, what is going on? There. Okay, so this is another path. Essentially, it's from the 3 junction, which is the 3 one. So this is the junction. If you go left, it takes you to 4. If you go forwards, which you can only do if it's at the 2 junction, then it goes to 5. And then 6 is to the right. These are the areas. So these ones are the paths. So if there isn't a path, then it just goes straight to there, or else it runs to path 1. And that's for all 5 ways. 5 is special because, well, 5B is special. So this is the choice. Well, I'll just go to 5B because that's the individual one. So in order to get to 5B, or just 5 for that instance, you need to have, in order to get here, you need to be able to, words, you need to have had the 3-way junction, because otherwise you can't get to here, because you can't get it through the 1-way junction, 2-way junction. Then it's, where on earth is it? Oh yeah, these are ones with the random numbers on them, like 73 and stuff. That's a different section I'll talk about in a second. This is the choice for areas. So if it's the 2 junction, where it doesn't do anything, it doesn't need to be a 3-way junction thing here, because you can't have a 3-way junction and a 3-way junction, because there's only one of each. And then the rest of this, these are all the special areas. So there's 71, which is special area 2, 72, which is special area 3, and 73, which is special area 4, and then one's here. Each of the special areas has their own indicator thing. So this points to here, and then it writes out the thing. So that's the same for all of them. And then for that specific thing, there's the actions. So this is the gate one. So it runs the gate up here, and then if you press I and you have the key, Daisy, no thank you. And if you have the uniform, then it plays the winning sound there, clears the console, and then writes, oops, and then writes, congratulations, you're free, and then sleeps forever. Because if it doesn't, then it just breaks. This is a case of not having every option, because there's I and S. There's no W, there's no A, there's no D, and there's no E. So if you pressed any of those buttons, it would break. This is just the back command. It's the same for the rest of these. What haven't I shown you? Oh yeah, these is just the same sort of thing. Essentially, what was the most challenging was having all of the choices, because there are multiple different ways that the map could look. So each segment, so 5L, well no, not 5L, 5 sucks, 6L needs to have the choice of being... So 6L is if you go right and then turn left, because 6 is the one to the right on the 3-way junction and 2-way junction. The first junction, if you turn right, you get to 6, and then if you turn left on that next junction, then you get to a different area. And this area needs to have the choice to be any of the 4 start areas, not start areas, special areas, and all the junctions and stuff. It's really confusing to work out. These are just the pixel art things. This was really annoying because backslashes mean something, so you have to have 2 backslashes to make 1 normal backslash. So then 4 backslashes make that one, and it just mirrors it, but it looks really funny. And then this is the highwaymen bit. These are the death bits for the highwaymen. If you press R, that respawns and takes you back to their death loop. Yeah, this was supposed to clear your inventory if you get highwaymen. Yeah, this is the chance for getting killed, so it would be 0 or 1, and if it's 1, then you get killed, and you have the axe. So that's the path, and then the 2 junction, that's just that. Oh, this, yeah, I'll come to that, never mind. So that's the 2-way junction, that's the 3-way junction. It's basically just ASCII art. These are specials. So actions prints out this, and in the right place for this set cursor position. It just puts it on everything after it's finished. This writes out the key, so this is the pixel art for the key, and then it just writes it all out. The same for the rest of these, so the axe and the tankard, and then the checks check for all of these. So if key yes no is 1, then it does the key one up here. Else, what does that do? I don't remember. It's the same thing. Trying to work out what this does. Oh yes, if because this writes spaces instead of doing the draw thing. So if key yes no is 1, then there is a key. Else it covers up where the key should be. This is the start bit with the whistle. It's just writing out all of the letters. Tavern, this is the longest section ever. This is why it goes all the way out to here. Yeah, there's quite a lot. And then, yeah, it just writes it out. Then barkeep, this is the talking bit. The back, and then takes you back to the tavern or goes to the path. And if there isn't a path, then that automatically takes you to 3. Talk, this is the bit which is supposed to increment it every time you take a drink. Yeah, so you can't go back without having this. This should really say if you press I and you have the tankard, because otherwise you can't get back. But yeah, it increases the drink, so you get a different one of these. If you have 5 drinks, then you die of alcohol poisoning, which I showed you. It does another check, and then waits for half a second, and removes the tankard from your inventory. Then this is the draw function. I should do that. It's just double space. I don't remember if I talked about it, Oh yeah, this just sets it back to black for every time after that. I don't remember if I talked about it, but I had a thing where it would write it in Tavern. It was this section with the +2s and stuff. There was a problem because it's a double space for each of these, but the set cursor position would only increment by 1, so it would write out 2 things and then go back to 1 thing and then write over that for 2 things and then go back 1 and then write over that. So it would look like it was only writing 1 pixel apart from the end ones, and then the second set, because I did it in 6, did I do it in 6? Yeah, I did it in 6 parts, so it's segmented into 6 pieces. So each of the 6 pieces would not be connected to any of the other 6 pieces. And it was just horrible, because I was sitting there for ages going, what on earth is it doing? It's writing out the end ones, so all the ones here it's writing out, but it's only doing 1 for each of the other ones. It was really confusing. And then this is text size, that's the default zoom scale. That was when I finished doing it. These are just credits. Code writer, code editor, me as well. Management, me. Department of Awesome, also me. Fun Havers, everyone, because it's such a fun game. The lines of code, 3,401, because 3,400 is not good enough. Funnily enough, though, if you remove this line, it goes down to 3,400. There was a slight problem with this, was that my teacher, when he came and looked at it, said, oh, this is great, until he started pressing buttons when he wasn't supposed to press buttons, and yeah, it was pressing like forwards when you're in a cutscene, and then it would break, because if you press G in the first opening bit where it says that don't press stupid buttons thing, if you press G it skips the introduction bit, because I didn't have to watch that over again, which I didn't do for the rest of the cutscenes, just the first one. But I got really bored of myself playing the recorder every time I had to run it. So I added a G button, but then whenever he'd press it, it would break, come out of the subroutines, and because of the way I've done it, every time it finishes a subroutine, it will finish a thing. So every time Tavern is called, it will be right at the end, so that it doesn't run anything else after it runs Tavern. So if you have a link to the Tavern, and then you leave out of the Tavern one, it won't then store up the extra bits from, say if you called it from 2, and then you go back to the Tavern and call that, but you call Tavern halfway through number 2, then when you come out of Tavern, it will run number 2. So yeah, that was the thing. So I coded it like that. So whenever you come out of it, it completely clears that subroutine, and all the subroutines after it. So if you have a subroutine block 20 deep, if you finish the last one, it will exit out of all of them, which was a problem, because when you press G, it doesn't do that. It just skips. Where did I put it? It was here. If you press G, it clears the console and goes straight to 1. However, it still runs all of this. I could put this in an else, but I just didn't. So yeah, if you skip it, then you have all of this backed up, so that when you come out of one, when you finish all of them, say if you press the wrong button in a cutscene, which is any button in a cutscene, then it exits out of it and then runs all of this. So every time you press a wrong button, it would start playing my annoying little whistle thing and putting up the title card. And he got quite, yeah, he wasn't, he wasn't impressed with it. Simply because of that. What else did I show you? Oh yes, the start. This just clears it all. I didn't need to do this. I could have just put clear, because I didn't want to, because the idea was that the Etheron logo would be at the top the entire time, and then you could like scroll up a little bit and it'd be right at the top there. And then scroll back down and it covers it back up. So I didn't want it to clear the console, because then it would clear out the it would clear out the Ethereum logo, and then you'd have to rewrite it every time, and it would look funny. So I just did this. Then the only one you haven't seen is special areas, which is, yeah, and then there's a bit in map which links to it. So in map, you run through this, and then this decides where the three-way junction is, and this decides where the two-way junction is. This can only exist in 2 places, because then you can go left or right, but not forwards. This can exist in 3, because you can go left, forwards, and right, because you're on the three-way junction. Then these are the different choices, so it'll set it to 2 if there's a one-way junction. Set it to 1 if there's a two-way junction, and it's not defined here, and it's set to 0 up here somewhere. So if it's set to 1, then it'll be the three-way junction, and does the special areas. And this is the choice area, the choice bit. So it calls this bit. So whatever you put in here, it'll define these through a random one of these by picking that. I really couldn't be bothered to do this properly, so brute force attack. Defining. So that'll define each of these integers you put in as 70, 71, 72, or 73, which it just picks one of the random areas to do, and each of these numbers corresponds to a different one, as I said earlier. In here, if it's 70, it's the first special area, etc. So these will call, if it's 1, by setting this. So if this condition is true, where if it's 0, then it sets it to 1. So this, right, so it'll do the random choice here. If that random choice is 0, then it'll do another random choice and pick which of the areas the three-way junction should be. Else it'll do the 1 and pick where the three-way junction is, the two-way junction is. If it picks this one, it has to find the three-way junction. So each of the choices are on that three-way junction. So if you go left, then you have the choice of 3 of the things, and then the other one, because you're on the two-way junction, and then if area 4B is 1, then the three-way junction is on the left. So when you go left, you have the 3 choices of special areas, and then the right path is the other special area, which is the reverse for this. So this is the individual one, and then if you turn right, you have the choice of 3, and this is the same thing. So this is the special area. If you go left and it's the two-way junction, then you have the 2 choices, or you can go forwards or right, and you get the unique special things. So that's how it all works. And this took me ages, simply because we had not learned the keyword ref, which happened to be in a lesson 2 weeks ago. This is 4 weeks after the competition, so I was sitting there for 2 hours, because I sped through eating lunch, and I have a free period after lunch. And I sped through that, so I was sitting there for 2 hours, scratching my head, going, how do I get it to return these values here, and set the integers that I'm putting in to these special values? And it was just this keyword ref, and I asked him after 2 hours, right before the end of my free period, which I'd spent the entire time doing nothing, sitting, Googling up, trying to see how to get it to return the value. And then I put my hand up as he was walking back from the printer and went, how do I do this? And he went, write that. And then I wrote that, and it worked. And yeah, that's how it all works. And that's the end. I'm never going to finish this because I've had 6 weeks and I haven't done it already. So yeah, this is where it's at. I won't include a link to it because unless you have Visual Studios it won't work. But for the sake of it being 45 minutes long, this recording, I've got to say goodbye because 45 is now. Just realised, so I was going through and editing it, that I mentioned it, but I didn't actually show that the path randomised. So now this is it. So if you go out through the door, then you're at 3 junction. There was a path on the other map. Then close this down again, open it back up. Okay, we're back in a different one. And now if you go outside. Okay, this is a terrible example. Hang on. Okay, we're back in a different one. There we go. Now, yes, so it is different. And now it's a two-way junction. And if you go left...
The areas ahead are barricaded by an
left was not the right way. So if I go right instead, then you have another path, and then the three-way junction. I realised as I was watching it through, I'd mentioned that it randomised, and I showed the bit that randomised it. Wait, did I? Yes, yeah, I showed the bit that randomised it. I didn't actually show it working, so this is it. This is now completely different from the one that what it was before. So, yeah, and all the bits are in different places, and special areas, which is good. So, yeah, this is a bit of tack on to the end, which has kind of ruined the ending that I had right at 45. I stopped it, and it was really cool, and it just sort of cut out. But now I'll have to come up with some way to